Here I am, manifesting an amazing game for the Montreal Canadiens later today against Daniil Tarasov and the Florida Panthers. I am mostly begging for this because I am losing my fantasy matchup this week. And guess who just picked up Oliver Kapanen as a streaming target for the next few days? Yes, that is right. I have a bunch of Canadiens on my roster. Demidov, Slafkovsky, Kapanen, Hutson. They all say don't put your eggs in the one basket, but yeah, no, this Canadiens fanboy is going to try and do that, hopefully, to get the win. But either way, before we get into today's festivities between Montreal and Florida, I wanted to talk about some super awesome stories with this team that have come to light over the past few days. To kick things off, I wanted to turn our sights over to the big man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, Juraj Slafkovsky has been a man on a mission the past few days. We made a video just a few weeks ago talking about the problems with Slafkovsky. We had mentioned how things weren't really going his way and how you can say there were issues with the confidence and the transition from year to year to year with Slaf and his progression. I can't seem to find the video here, but it was a while ago. Juraj Slafkovsky had some ups and downs for sure throughout the past few months, but ultimately, he's in a pretty high spot right now when you look at the Montreal Canadiens and his overall point production. In the past 5 games, Slafkovsky has 8 points. In the last 10 games, he's got 12. He's at a total of 28 points in 38 games on the year, which would be on pace for a 60-point campaign. That would be a career high for a guy who, just starting the past few games over here, has really started to turn it on. Yeah, it's true that he is at 8 points in his last 5 games, but if you just look at the past 4 games, you'll see that he is indeed still at 8 points. He has been at 2 points a game, going back to December 20th before Christmas, and as a result, Juraj Slafkovsky was named the NHL's 3rd star of the week, behind Nikita Kucherov and Eeli Tolvanen. By the way, shout out to Tolvanen, 6 points in 3 games played. That's outstanding. Kucherov got 6 points in 3 games. Slafkovsky had 5 points in 2 games. So obviously the games played numbers are a little bit reduced because it's before the Christmas break, and obviously the league takes a pause. But this is just an indicator as to how well Juraj Slafkovsky has been playing the past little while. And we've come to expect this out of the big man ever since he made his debut back in 2022. He always has a better second half of the season than he does a first half. And that has been a pattern that has sustained itself throughout the course of his NHL career so far. Yes, he did have back-to-back 50-point seasons, and you would like to see a guy be able to progress upwards point production-wise. But that's just the thing right here. If he continues on this pace, not necessarily the 60-point pace that he is on for the entire year, but this ridiculous, otherworldly pace that he's been on the past few weeks, Juraj Slafkovsky could blow past 60 points. He could get 70, 75 if he really starts to tie it together and gets that consistent string of offense. Not to mention the fact that he is finding a lot more of a role, a presence on that second line with Ivan Demidov, rather than being the facilitator on the first line with Caulfield and Suzuki. Speaking about that Nick Suzuki, this was also posted about by Fanatics on their website. We won't know for sure until a few days later, but seems like Nick Suzuki has made Team Canada at the Olympic Games in Milano Cortina. Take a look at this. This user on Reddit went out there and posted a screenshot of the Fanatics website featuring a Nick Suzuki Hockey Canada 2026 Winter Olympics framed jersey print. Their price was $79.99. And of course, we all recognize that Team Canada, they're not releasing the names yet. We have to wait until the new year to fully get the list, but Nick Suzuki, along with some other names, I believe it was Brad Marchand and Mitch Marner, They were listed on the website on Fanatics as being potential Olympic game merchandise opportunities. Now, here's the problem. A lot of folks are going out there and saying, hey, I wouldn't put it past Fanatics to make such a mistake, honestly. And yeah, that absolutely would be the case. You can say that, okay, Suzuki's name is on Team Canada's Fanatics page on the Olympics. That kind of confirms that he's going to be there, right? But in all honesty, it's Fanatics. These guys have really dropped the ball when it comes to providing consistency and quality amongst their merchandise the past few years. So if there's any organization to straight up just jabate people by putting the wrong information on their website, it's probably Fanatics. And I'm not going to lie, if I'm Nick Suzuki and I see my name on Team Canada's merchandise store, only for me not to get the call, I would be pretty pissed off. But then again, I'm not Nick Suzuki. I'm just going to go out there and say that he probably can handle it better than I would. So fans are indeed going out there and using this as ammo to believe what they want. Lebick says, hey, it looks like it. There's also a few other items with his name. All the other players are all Olympic players, like Sid, McDavid, Marchand, etc. Marner also has products, and he has also not been announced, nor was Brad Marchand amongst the first 6 players named to the team. So with that being said, I think we could realistically assume that Nick Suzuki is making Team Canada, and that honestly should not be a surprise if you consider the glow up in production he has had the past few years. This year, he's on pace for 91 points. He's been way over a point per game the past 2 seasons, and he has just been getting better and better and better. Nick Suzuki has been a model of consistency, leadership, and overall skill with the Montreal Canadiens ever since getting acquired for their previous captain, Max Pacioretty, and it'll always stand out as one of the better trades that the Canadiens made to acquire this guy in the first place. At this stage, 26 years old, to be able to make the Olympic team with the skills that he has, it's a pretty big accomplishment. But that's, of course, only if this is to be 100% believed. Let's just not jinx anything for now, okay? And then finally, I wanted to go out there and talk about guys on the Canadiens with Lane Hutson, who went out there and set the franchise record for most assists by a defenseman in a calendar year. This, of course, was from yesterday, but you take a look at the overall number. Most assists by a Montreal Canadiens defenseman in a calendar year. Hutson's 72nd assist of the year passes J.C. Tremblay, who had 71 assists in 1971, for the most ever by a Canadiens D-man in a calendar year. Look at that, eh? The guy is literally just coming off of a Calder victory last season, and now he's breaking Canadiens franchise records. I get that saying, okay, assists by a defenseman in one calendar year isn't really like the easiest record to identify, but the fact that Hutson still has a game or two to go to improve on that record just goes to show you how dominant he has been. So, big shout out over to Lane Hutson, big shout out over to Juraj Slafkovsky, big shout out over to Nick Suzuki. Lots of positive news to go over with the Montreal Canadiens right now, and that's not even talking about the World Junior guys. Michael Hage, LJ Mooney, these guys have been producing pretty well too at the tournament. I don't want to fit them into this video because I feel like it would only seem like an afterthought that we talk about them at the end of this 9-minute commentary, but hey, there are a lot of positive Canadian stories. Let's hope that builds upon itself later today against Daniil Tarasov and the Florida Panthers. So with all that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about these Canadian stories? How do you feel about Slaf going out there and dominating, becoming the 3rd star of the week in the NHL post? I hope you enjoyed this Vishal 9. And bye.